going on, everybody? So today we are going to be doing a ranking of all the DCU projects from the Suicide Squad to Peacemaker Season 2, but really till Superman, because I'm including Peacemaker as one show. I'm also including the Suicide Squad in here because technically it includes a lot of stuff that are featured in Peacemaker Season 2, and I will be including Blue Beetle as well, since Blue Beetle is the first character in the DCU that James Gunn confirmed. With that said, let's go ahead and get started talking about the DCU. Alright, so this is, keep in mind, I think every project in the DCU that we've had so far has been really good. And Creature Commandos is no exception. The things I love about it, I love the new characters that we get. I love Dr. Phosphorus. I love, Rick Flag Sr. with Frank Grillo playing him. I like learning about all these different characters' backstories. I like some of the action. I like how gory and bloody it is. I think some of the animation's pretty cool. I like the world building of the DCU. And of course, as a James Gunn project, I love the soundtrack. However, as sort of the first project in the new DCU, I kind of feel like it doesn't find a good way to connect. Well, not in a good way to connect, but it just kind of feels like every episode is just giving us backstories of these new characters that we don't really get to enjoy the actual story that they're trying to tell us. Now, I'm very excited for Season 2, and hopefully it does better with that, but I just don't know if, needle drops and character backstories is what I needed for a show. So for me, this show comes in last place, but I'm still very excited for the Season 2, and I still do like this show. Alright, so this is another one like the Creature Commandos, but I think that this is a much stepper up than Creature Commandos. When they first announced that James Gunn was going to be doing the new Suicide Squad film, I was thinking, okay, I did like Guardians of the Galaxy, but keep in mind, I liked it just based off of how he did the characters and stuff. Never really cared about how his filmmaking worked. And I feel like in some ways this was his first movie where he actually got to make a comic book movie to where he got to do all the things he wanted to do. And on some aspects, that brings some great strengths to him, but it also gives some weaknesses. On the positives, he is able to create all the strengths he did on Guardians of the Galaxy. It's all on display here with doing the Suicide Squad characters, and comes into full display to where you give these backstories to people like Peacemaker and Bloodsport that are so interesting. You make them so, not likable, but kind of douchebags, and it's awesome. And then at the same time, it makes you care about certain characters like King Shark and Polka Dot Man. They even give you characters that you already saw before, such as Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and does something awesome with her character. And then likewise, the action is pretty practical while at the same time doing the CGI stuff, so it's great. The big problem that I kind of have with this movie that affects it is, as this is like one of James Gunn's first films to where he's able to do what he wanted to do, it's almost like he's doing a little bit too much, and I think it also kind of minimizes doing a really, really good story. And likewise, I think the Project Starfish plotline is a little bit weak for me. So, other than that, this movie is really good, but it is pretty flawed, but it is still a very entertaining film. Alright, so now we're starting to get into some of my personal favorite projects from the DCU. Of course, Superman did just come out this year. It is technically the first film in the DCU, but for me, this is actually one of the better movies that we have gotten in the DCU thus far. And as now that I could say I am pretty much a Superman fan this year, this movie was awesome. I think James Gunn knew how to create a Superman movie that takes place in a very comic booky, already established universe to where you can do the Superman stuff with Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, and the Daily Planet, but at the same time have all this other stuff going on with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific, and even introducing some characters like that. And having the big epic comic booky action, but at the same time staying true to the Superman character. And I think that was actually one of the best things about this film, to where it just feels like an old-fashioned story of the Superman mythos and the way his character was portrayed. Obviously, I can't critique much because I don't know too much about Superman like that, but I think that this was a very well done film. And honestly, even though there's things you can critique, especially with like the kaiju not destroying anything, or like there being countless fights or battles in Metropolis and nobody's really terrified of it. At the same time, I also think that this movie has just grown on me, that it's like, maybe in other projects they'll handle it better. So overall, Superman was absolute cinema. Alright, so unlike the Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos, this was a show that honestly, it just works a lot better for me. That everybody saw the Suicide Squad and thought, oh, that's the best project that James Gunn ever done because he can do what he wants now. In my opinion, this show actually was able to balance what James Gunn's been wanting to do, to where he can do the badass action that is rated R. He can do the comedy that is for adults. He can do the gruesome storylines of Peacemaker's past. But what also is more intriguing is the fact that he made a show of a character from the Suicide Squad that we all disliked, and we made him somehow likable, but they also explore why he is like that. And I think that was so interesting. It has, once again, another great soundtrack of James Gunn that he always likes to do this. The cast is so likable. I love Vigilante. I love all these other characters throughout it. And it just feels like a great part of the DCU that you never thought it would be. And as for Season 2, while I have my issues, I think it is another one of those strengths of the DCU that, like, the acting is phenomenal. But in some ways, I think it could mean so much more for the DCU and trying to tell a really good story. Because I think Season 1 is better for everything that he was trying to do. Season 2 is kind of fleshing it out with more of the characters and stuff. But overall, this is a great series and one of the best projects of the DCU. Alright, so yeah, Blue Beetle happens to be my favorite DCU project. And I know a lot of people, when it first came out, everybody was just being like, this movie's trash, I hate this movie. Yeah, you're really just like fumbling at this point, because this movie was awesome. It felt like a combination of both Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, but at the same time, everything seemed to be taken seriously, and it also just felt like nothing was really corny, nothing was ever they didn't do some random plot lines. Everything that was in the movie made sense. And then likewise, it also has a really good sense of humor. The action when it happens is actually awesome. So it's like, it takes all the generic stuff that you would expect from a superhero movie like this, and they actually make it awesome in every aspect. And I'm so excited to see more of the Blue Beetle character and more of the Blue Beetle characters and stuff like that. So, for me, Blue Beetle the movie is my favorite DCU movie, but also my favorite DCU project.